Hi there, everyone. Meteorologist Rusty Dawkins looking at, we're just going to go through Tuesday because there's going to be a lot going on. We're looking at a lot of snow in some spots, thunderstorms before that, and then a lot of wind coming in as the day progresses. So there's a lot to kind of figure out, and timing is going to be critical. Here's what one model says. If you watched this yesterday, not much has changed, but a little. But, I mean, timing-wise, some of it has changed too, and potential for snowfall has changed too. Here's 9:30 in the morning Tuesday. So notice there's this swath of snow here. Then as we head through the day, or in the morning into the early afternoon, thunderstorms pop up in southeast Nebraska, and then coming around on the cold side is that snowfall. That continues, and the rain and thunderstorms, that transitions over to snowfall. Everything's just kind of meeting up in the middle, and then everything turns into snow, and this is around 8 p.m. Tuesday. A lot of snow. Omaha, Lincoln, Beatrice. That's probably where our accumulating snow is going to come from. And then it pulls out by about 10 o'clock. So still, that's a couple of hours of snowfall. And some of that could be on the heavy side before it's all said and done by 1 o'clock in the morning Wednesday. So Tuesday has a very good potential to see thunderstorms and some heavy snow in some spots. And how much? Well, great question. Glad you asked. Subscribe first. Okay, thanks. Now, onto the models. This is model number 1, and really they're still kind of all over the place. You'll notice that this has a swath here and kind of a swath here and not as much here. And this is, if you don't look at the numbers, this whole thing right here kind of makes sense, where there's not as much here, but there is on the outer edges. This would more than likely be more rain than anything else, more snow than anything else, and a rain-snow mix. So keep that in mind as we go through these different models. That's model number 1. 1.2, kind of the same thing, right? It has this, the heavier swath here, a heavier swath over here, and then in the middle, I always do that. My alarm always goes off every time I'm recording this. That's so weird. Okay, model number 2. And this is because we had 1.1 and 1.2. Now this is model 2, because 1 and 1.1 and 1.2 are the same, just different entities. Okay, model number 2. Same thing. Just maybe scooched over just a little bit off to the east a little more. You have this swath here, and then Grand Island looks like they're the donut, just right in the middle of everything. So this is good. I mean, there's higher amounts in some spots, not as much in others from different models. So this one has 3.4 for Lincoln. Let's look at this next one. Not even an inch. This one's a little different though. It has that swath here, but it has the bigger swath way over here, and then kind of just half an inch to an inch for everybody in central and eastern Nebraska. So yeah, models are not on the same page. How about model number 4? Another 3.4 there, higher amounts in that swath there. This model's very consistent with this swath right here, and then very consistent, showing next to nothing in central Nebraska. Let's keep moving. I mean, it's either 3.4 for Lincoln or 0.2, apparently. And this one, again, has that swath right there, and then a heavier swath over here with less in eastern Nebraska, a little bit more in central Nebraska. So, and it's kind of rare for models. Well, I guess the models are somewhat on the same page. They're still, a little up and down, but usually they're a little more in agreement by now. But this is a weird storm, definitely a weird storm, with all the thunderstorms before, then the thunderstorms second half of the day, first half of the day, then changing over to snow, and then there's all that wind. Okay, so this one has, again, this is normal. This is what we've been seeing. Swath here. This one has a little more snow. Has it transitioning earlier. So eastern Nebraska has anywhere from 2 to 4 to almost 6 inches. Look at it, almost 7 inches in Beatrice. But that's a pocket. That's a pocket. So generally this is like 2 to 4. Okay. Okay. Well, those are your models. Okay, that's the gist of it. And overall, just like yesterday, it had a swath here, a swath here, and then in the middle was nothing. And it has held true. Now, how much for each one? I mean, you're probably looking at 2 to 4 for western Nebraska, or the western half, 1 to 2, maybe up to 4 inches in eastern Nebraska, and in the middle, probably an inch or so. Zooming out just a little bit for friends along the borders, if you are so inclined. It looks like Kansas to maybe the eastern half of the state. Iowa looks like they might have a swath of their own to deal with. This is the graph. Let's take a look at the next one, the GFS. Kind of the same thing. A little more towards Iowa, Minnesota, Green Bay, or Wisconsin. And then let's look at the NAM real quick. Very similar. All of those are very similar to each other. So my forecast has this right here. We have this swath of 2 to 4. And when we were watching that earlier, it showed that swath moving through eastern Nebraska as rain and then changing over to snow. Really depends on when that transitions over. So basically what I'm saying is if it transitions over to snow sooner, then this whole area right here would likely be the 2 to 4 inches. But I'm thinking that it transitions about right there, and when it transitions there, it leaves 1 to 2 inches from Lincoln, Beatrice to Columbus, and then it really kind of gets going here, giving us that 2 to 4 inches in eastern Nebraska, far eastern Nebraska. That swath that kept showing up over and over again in the western half of the state, that's where that 2 to 4 inches comes from, right there. And then as we saw almost in every single model, this was a spot that missed each time. Had something over here, had something over here, but there was nothing in the middle. Just like my head. Ears, nothing in the middle. Okay, so I think the storm chance first is going to mess with our rainfall totals. If it was cold enough for all snow, completely different storm, completely different outlook on how much snow I thought we were going to get. But that's not the case. It's too warm. I mean, it's in the 50s for a good portion of the day. So we have to wait for the cold air to get here before it transitions over to snow. Also, cold front's going to bring in cold air, and it's not brutally cold, it's just going to be colder, but it's also going to do this. I mean, look at this. You're looking at 40 and 50 mile per hour wind gusts for the western half of the state all day, eastern half of the state all afternoon and evening. And this goes, I mean, this is 10 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday morning, still 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts in eastern Nebraska, starting to slow down the further west you go, but it's still out there. And it drops into the 30s and 40s for gusts, mile per hour range, by noon on Wednesday. And then eventually, by I think Wednesday night is when all of this tapers off. So that's a lot of that's a lot of wind for the entire state. So this is probably going to be it for my YouTube for this particular storm, unless I can do something in the morning. I might. Depends if I can. Depends on where I'm at. I'll try to do it. But subscribe. That way you know if I do, or if there's more storms. I mean, we're just getting into storm season. So whenever there's a severe weather threat or a winter threat like there is right now, I do this first. Bye.